The year is 1947. The world is still reeling from the devastation of World War II. Victory has been declared, but peace feels fragile. The United States and the Soviet Union, once allies, now stand as rivals on the world stage. A Cold War simmers between them. A war of ideology, espionage and suspicion. The threat of nuclear annihilation hangs heavy in the air. In this atmosphere of unease, a different kind of conflict is about to unfold. It will be waged not with bombs and bullets, but with secrets and lies. At the heart of this conflict is a man obsessed with power, Joseph Stalin, the iron-fisted dictator of the Soviet Union. Stalin, a master manipulator, understood the power of fear. He knew that to control a nation, one had to control its people, their minds, their beliefs, their very perception of reality. And so, in the darkest corners of the Kremlin, a plan began to take shape. It was a plan so audacious, so chilling, that it bordered on madness. A plan to exploit the deepest fears of the American people, to shake their faith in their government, and to sow seeds of doubt and paranoia that would linger for decades to come. Joseph Stalin was a man who understood the power of stories. He had seen how propaganda could be used to shape public opinion, to demonize enemies, and to glorify the state. But it was the reaction to a simple radio broadcast that truly ignited his imagination. In 1938, Orson Welles' radio adaptation of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds had thrown America into a panic. Millions of listeners believed that Martians were invading Earth, and the resulting hysteria was palpable. Stalin saw this not as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mass media, but as a blueprint for a new kind of warfare, psychological warfare. He recognized the potential to manipulate the collective consciousness of a nation, to instill fear and uncertainty on a grand scale. This wasn't just about spreading rumors or planting disinformation. It was about crafting a narrative so compelling, so terrifying, that it would worm its way into the very fabric of American society. And so Stalin gathered his most trusted advisors, men and women who shared his ruthlessness and his thirst for power. Together, they began to plot a deception so elaborate, so audacious, that it would make the War of the Worlds pale in comparison. They would give America something real to fear, something that would blur the lines between fact and fiction, something that would leave an indelible mark on the national psyche. The plan, as it began to crystallize, was audacious in its scope and chilling in its implications. Stalin, ever the pragmatist, recognized that the United States, with its burgeoning technological prowess, could not be defeated through conventional means. The only way to strike at the heart of America, he reasoned, was to attack its spirit, to undermine its confidence, to make its people question everything they held dear. The key to this plan lay in the burgeoning field of ufology. Reports of strange lights in the sky, of unidentified flying objects, were beginning to surface with increasing frequency, particularly in the United States. These reports, often dismissed as the product of overactive imaginations or misidentified aircraft, nevertheless tapped into a primal fear of the unknown, a fear that Stalin and his advisors were all too eager to exploit. The Soviets would craft a narrative so compelling, so terrifying, that it would become ingrained in the American consciousness. They would give the American people their worst nightmare, a threat so alien, so utterly other, that it would shatter their sense of security and leave them vulnerable to manipulation. In the process, they would sow the seeds of doubt and paranoia that would continue to bear fruit for generations to come. The stage was set for a deception of unprecedented scale, a deception that would exploit humanity's fear of the unknown and forever alter the course of history. The memory of the War of the Worlds broadcast lingered in Stalin's mind. The sheer panic it induced, the societal disruption, it was a weapon unlike any he had seen. It was a bloodless victory achieved through the airwaves, a testament to the power of suggestion. Stalin, a man who had orchestrated purges and famines, saw in this a new kind of terror, a terror that could cripple a nation from within. He had witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of propaganda during the war, how it could sway hearts and minds, turning neighbour against neighbour. But this was different. This was not about manipulating information. This was about manipulating reality itself. He envisioned a scenario where the very fabric of American society would unravel, where trust in government would crumble, and where fear of the unknown would become a paralyzing force. The American people, he believed, were particularly susceptible to this kind of manipulation. They were a young nation, still finding their footing on the world stage, their history short, their future uncertain. Their belief in their own exceptionalism, in their technological superiority, could be turned against them, transformed into a source of crippling paranoia. Stalin, ever the pragmatist, knew that such an ambitious undertaking would require expertise beyond the scope of his usual cadre of advisors. He needed individuals who understood the intricacies of the human psyche, who could weaponize fear itself. He needed scientists who operated on the fringes of acceptable research, men and women who were not afraid to push the boundaries of ethics and morality. He found them in the remnants of the Nazi regime, scientists and engineers who had fled to the Soviet Union in the aftermath of World War II. These were men and women who had conducted horrific experiments in the name of science, driven by a twisted ideology and a thirst for knowledge that knew no bounds. Among them were experts in rocketry, in aviation, in biology, and perhaps most disturbingly in human experimentation. These individuals, ostracized by the international community, found a home in Stalin's Soviet Union. They were given resources, laboratories, and most importantly, free rein to continue their research no matter how unethical or inhumane. In their desperation to escape the consequences of their actions, they had become tools for a new kind of monster. Under Stalin's watchful eye, a clandestine project began to take shape in the depths of Soviet Russia. Hidden from prying eyes, in secret labs and underground bunkers, the seeds of a chilling deception were sown. The plan was audacious in its scope, requiring a fusion of science and stagecraft unlike any the world had ever seen. The task of creating the aliens fell to a team of geneticists and surgeons, individuals who had honed their skills during the war, twisting and reshaping human bodies with chilling efficiency. Working from sketches and descriptions provided by Stalin himself, they began to assemble their grotesque creations. Bodies were procured, their origins unknown, their ultimate fate a gruesome testament to the project's sinister nature. The creatures that emerged from these clandestine laboratories were a macabre mockery of life itself. Their skin, pale and stretched taut over their bones, gave them an almost skeletal appearance. Their eyes, large and black, seemed to stare out from their skulls with an unnerving intensity. Limbs were elongated, twisted into unnatural positions, hints of something vaguely humanoid lurking beneath the surface. While the biological aspect of Stalin's plan unfolded in the surgical theatres of hidden laboratories, another team of engineers and physicists grappled with an equally daunting challenge: crafting a vessel that would convincingly transport these fabricated beings from the realm of science fiction into the heart of the American Southwest. The engineers, many of whom had been absorbed into the Soviet war machine from conquered Germany, brought with them a wealth of knowledge in advanced aeronautics. They had seen the potential of unconventional designs, the possibilities that lay beyond the limitations of traditional aircraft. They understood that to create the illusion of extraterrestrial technology, they needed something truly extraordinary. Drawing inspiration from both captured German prototypes and the fantastical designs found in pulp science fiction magazines, the engineers began to piece together the craft that would come to haunt the skies over Roswell. It was a delicate balancing act, combining cutting-edge technology with an aesthetic that was both alien and eerily familiar. Section 2. Fabricating the unknown. The construction of the craft was a symphony of secrecy and subterfuge. Materials were smuggled in from across the Soviet Union and beyond, their origins obscured by layers of bureaucracy and misinformation. The workers, sworn to secrecy, toiled under the watchful eyes of armed guards, their every move scrutinized, their every word monitored. The air within the hangar crackled with a strange mixture of fear and excitement. The engineers, many of whom had once dreamt of pushing the boundaries of human ingenuity, now found themselves complicit in a scheme that bordered on the surreal. They were building not just a machine, but a prop, a piece of elaborate stagecraft designed to deceive the entire world. As the craft began to take shape, its true purpose became terrifyingly clear. This was no mere aircraft designed for atmospheric flight. It was something else entirely, something that hinted at technologies far beyond the capabilities of any nation on Earth. The smooth, metallic hull, the absence of any visible engines or control surfaces, the strange symbols etched onto its underside. It was as if it had been plucked from the pages of a science fiction novel, a tangible manifestation of humanity's deepest fears and wildest imaginings. Section 3. Whispers of the Cosmos. News of the project spread through the clandestine network of Soviet intelligence like wildfire, carried in hushed whispers and coded messages. Rumors abounded, each more outlandish than the last. Some whispered of captured alien technology, reverse-engineered from a crashed spacecraft. Others spoke of a secret pact with otherworldly beings, a desperate bid for power in a world teetering on the brink of annihilation. The truth, as is often the case, was far more mundane yet no less disturbing. The beings that would soon inhabit this craft were not from another world. They were the product of human cruelty and ambition, grotesque puppets crafted to serve a sinister agenda. But even those who knew the truth, those who had witnessed the creatures being assembled in the labs, couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing a part in something profoundly unsettling. The very existence of the project was anathema to the principles of science and reason. It was a descent into the realm of superstition and paranoia, a betrayal of the Enlightenment ideals that had once promised to lift humanity out of the darkness. Yet here they were on the cusp of unleashing something truly monstrous upon the world, all in the name of national security and ideological dominance. Section 4. Dress rehearsal for terror. With the craft nearing completion, it was time for the final, chilling stage of the operation, a test run. The chosen location was a desolate stretch of steppe in the Kazakh Soviet Socialist Republic, a place as far removed from civilization as one could get within the vast expanse of the Soviet Empire. The site was crawling with KGB agents, their presence a stark reminder of the stakes involved. The scientists and engineers, their faces pale with a mixture of exhaustion and apprehension, made their final adjustments to the craft, their hands trembling slightly as they tightened bolts and calibrated instruments. The creatures, their bodies inert, their eyes staring blankly ahead, were loaded into the craft's dimly lit interior. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the steppe, the moment of truth arrived. The order was given, and with a low hum that seemed to reverberate through the very ground itself, the craft rose slowly into the air. It hovered for a moment as if testing its newfound freedom before shooting off into the darkening sky, leaving behind a group of onlookers who were at once terrified and strangely exhilarated by what they had just witnessed. The dress rehearsal was over. The stage was set for Roswell. The New Mexico desert at night was an alien landscape, a sea of black stretched to the horizon, punctuated by the occasional silhouette of a twisted Joshua tree. The silence was absolute, broken only by the howl of the wind, a constant reminder of the unforgiving nature of this desolate place. It was here, in this desolate expanse, that Stalin's macabre masterpiece would play out its final act. The craft, its sleek exterior now battered and scarred from its transcontinental journey, descended from the night sky. It was a controlled crash, carefully orchestrated to mimic the erratic movements of a vessel struggling to maintain altitude. Sparks showered the dry earth as the craft skidded across the desert floor, the sound of tearing metal echoing through the stillness. The impact threw up a cloud of dust and sand, momentarily obscuring the crash site from view. Then, as the dust settled, the true horror of the scene was revealed. The craft lay broken and twisted, a testament to the violence of its descent. Inside, the creatures, their bodies designed for a very different kind of journey, lay amidst the wreckage, their lifeless eyes staring out at the indifferent stars. The first responders were a detachment of military police from nearby Roswell Army Airfield. They were young men, most of them barely old enough to shave, thrust into a situation that defied their every instinct and training. They had been dispatched to investigate reports of a downed aircraft, but nothing could have prepared them for the sight that awaited them. The soldiers approached the crash site with a mixture of caution and morbid curiosity. Their flashlights danced across the debris field, illuminating twisted metal and strange otherworldly symbols. And then they saw them, the bodies. The creatures were a grotesque parody of human anatomy, their limbs contorted at unnatural angles, their skin a sickly grey, their eyes large and black, devoid of any discernible iris or pupil. Whispers rippled through the ranks, barely audible above the howl of the wind. What the hell is that? Is it even human? They had been trained to fight men, not monsters. The very air seemed to crackle with a strange energy, a sense of wrongness that seeped into their bones. News of the crash spread quickly through the ranks of the military, each retelling adding a new layer of exaggeration and dread. The official story, quickly concocted by a government still reeling from the incident, was that a weather balloon had crashed. But the men who had seen the wreckage, who had gazed upon the grotesque visages of those otherworldly beings, knew better. They were sworn to secrecy, threatened with court-martial, and worse if they ever breathed a word of what they had seen. Their silence was bought, but their doubts lingered. The government might have been able to control the flow of information, but they could not control the whispers, the rumours, the creeping sense of unease that spread like a virus through the ranks. The wreckage was quickly spirited away to a secret location, the bodies whisked away for analysis. The official story was disseminated through the press, a carefully crafted narrative designed to reassure the public that there was nothing to fear. But the seeds of doubt had been sown. The world would never be the same. The official story, released by the US government, was a masterpiece of understatement. A weather balloon had crashed, they claimed, its unusual appearance due to experimental materials. The public, starved for information in the wake of the war, was eager to believe the official narrative. But the truth, as it often does, had a way of seeping out, carried on whispers and rumours. Local newspapers, initially hesitant to contradict the government's account, began to publish eyewitness accounts of strange lights in the sky, of metallic debris unlike anything they had ever seen. The story, fueled by the public's appetite for the sensational, quickly took on a life of its own. The term flying disc entered the lexicon, a catch-all phrase for the unexplained phenomena that were now gripping the nation's attention. The government, caught off guard by the speed at which the story was spreading, doubled down on its denials. Spokesmen dismissed the eyewitness accounts as fabrications, the work of attention seekers and cranks. But the more they protested, the less convincing they sounded. The seeds of doubt sown by Stalin's elaborate deception were beginning to take root. As the years passed, the Roswell incident, far from fading from public memory, became a cultural touchstone, a symbol of government secrecy and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The official explanation, once accepted by many, was now met with skepticism and outright disbelief. Books were written, documentaries were filmed, each attempting to piece together the truth of what happened that night in the New Mexico desert. Witnesses, emboldened by the passage of time, came forward with increasingly fantastical tales of alien encounters, of government cover-ups, of shadowy figures operating on the fringes of power. The government, for its part, remained steadfast in its denials. Reports were released, investigations were launched, but none were able to definitively debunk the growing mythology surrounding Roswell. The more the government tried to suppress the truth, the more convinced the public became that something extraordinary had happened. Stalin's plan, conceived in the darkest corners of the Kremlin, had succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. He had set out to sow discord and distrust in the heart of America, and he had achieved just that. The Roswell incident, a product of human cruelty and deception, had become a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown. The incident had a profound impact on the development of ufology as a field of study. It legitimized, in the minds of many, the belief in extraterrestrial life, fueling a cottage industry of researchers, investigators, and self-proclaimed experts, each claiming to hold the key to unlocking the secrets of Roswell. But the true legacy of Roswell lies not in the realm of science fiction, but in the very real consequences of government secrecy and the manipulation of information. It serves as a stark reminder that even in the face of overwhelming evidence, even when the truth is staring us in the face, we are all too willing to believe a comforting lie if it means preserving our own sense of order and security. The desolate plains of Roswell, forever marked by that fateful summer night, became a breeding ground for something far more insidious than just alien conspiracies. It became a testament to the power of fear, a fear expertly cultivated and nurtured by a regime that understood the human psyche better than it cared to admit. Stalin's ghost haunted the crash site, his unseen hand manipulating the narrative, twisting the facts, and leaving behind a legacy of doubt and uncertainty. The United States, for all its military and technological might, found itself grappling with an enemy it could not bomb into submission. An enemy that thrived in the shadows, feeding on paranoia and speculation. The irony was almost too cruel, too perfect. The very nation that prided itself on its rationality, on its commitment to scientific progress, was now grappling with a mystery that defied logical explanation. The more the government tried to assert control, to impose order on the chaos, the more elusive the truth became. Roswell, once a sleepy town in the American Southwest, became synonymous with the unknown, a focal point for humanity's hopes and fears about the cosmos. It became a place of pilgrimage for believers and skeptics alike, drawn to the desert by the allure of the unexplained. The questions lingered, echoing through the decades. What did those soldiers really see in the desert that night? What became of the wreckage of the bodies? Was it truly an elaborate hoax, a Cold War gambit designed to sow chaos and distrust? Or was there something more, something truly inexplicable, hidden beneath layers of government secrecy and obfuscation? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Stalin's shadow still looms large over the UFO phenomenon. The seeds of doubt he planted have taken root, growing into a tangled thicket of conspiracy theories and speculation that continues to captivate and confound us to this day. Roswell stands as a reminder that the greatest mysteries are often not found in the vastness of space, but in the dark recesses of the human heart, where fear and reason wage an eternal battle for supremacy. It is a story about the stories we tell ourselves, about the lies we embrace to make sense of a world that is often too strange, too frightening to comprehend. And in the end, it leaves us staring up at the night sky, filled with a sense of wonder and unease, questioning our place in the universe and the nature of reality itself.